Shall we kick it off? Okay,
Let's
great.
do it.
Welcome everybody to our online master's program info session. My name is Tom Bradley and I'm here with Catherine and with Ingrid Bridge, and we're here to try to provide you with some information about what our degree programs look like here at Colorado State University in the Department of Systems Engineering, and with some emphasis obviously here on the online master's programs. Our agenda today, if you change slide, thanks a bunch, is that we'll sort of do a little bit of intro to the folks who will be doing the presentation from the CSU side. We'll talk a little bit about systems engineering in our department and the way that we work with CSU Online. Ingrid will give us some introduction to what these master's programs look like and what some of the key ingredients for applications are. And then I'll talk again about some resources that are available to students in terms of engagement with the university, even from our, your position as distance ed students. And we'll absolutely invite Q&A, with special emphasis perhaps on the end. Fair warning though, Catherine is going to be inserting some of these polls as we go through. So you'll have the opportunity to respond to those and give us some guidance about the way you're thinking about the program, but also we'll perhaps prime the pump for being able to think about some questions as we get to the end. Okay, so just again, maybe as quick introduction. So my name is Tom Bradley, and I'm honored to serve as the department head for the Department of Systems Engineering here at Colorado State University. I'm going to try to talk about some of these more, broad strokes about the intro to our program and these sort of things. And then I also want to make sure I introduce here Ingrid Bridge. She's our graduate program coordinator and student advisor, and she'll be able to speak in more detail about what that application process looks like and what some of the details of differences between our various master's degrees programs are. You'll hear more from Ingrid as we keep marching here. So just as an introduction, I wanted to talk a little bit about, and one of the most common questions that students have who are sort of new to thinking about systems engineering is, what is systems engineering about and what are we trying to achieve? When you think about traditional disciplinary engineering programs and skill sets like mechanical engineering or electrical engineering or civil engineering, these are outstanding foundations upon which to build a systems engineering capability. And where those where the problems that we can solve with a disciplinary engineering degree sort of become intractable, where we can't solve the problems of smart grid or of Department of Defense problems, we can't solve those with disciplinary engineering know-how. We need to use systems engineering know-how to be able to solve those problems. And systems engineering really concentrates, sort of in contrast to disciplinary engineering programs, we concentrate on the design and the application of the whole as opposed to just the parts. We consider both business and technical processes. Systems engineering is intrinsically transdisciplinary, so we're used to thinking and working across the boundaries of our enterprises. We have to think about the entire life cycle of products, and we have to engage in a special skill set that's called systems thinking. And our objective is to train students in our Department of Systems Engineering to be able to build upon their disciplinary backgrounds and to be able to engage in systems engineering to solve these big problems. Our story in our department is that we do, ours is a graduate only program. So we really are seeking out students who have an outstanding background in any of the science and technology and engineering and mathematics sort of disciplines. And we're seeking to be able to build on that, to be able to turn out systems engineers that are capable of doing this real work. Our program is very strongly oriented towards serving industry in the United States and in the globe. we understand, of course, and we hear from our industrial stakeholders and from our government stakeholders that systems engineering is a really key skill set. They're seeking out, they're seeking a workforce that has the capability to be able to do systems engineering. And we engage with them regularly, wherein they tell us what the topics of interest to industry and government are. And we direct our program to be oriented around what their particular needs are. So you'll see very modern topics in our coursework, topics like virtual reality and augmented reality, topics like model-based systems engineering, topics like cybersecurity. This is what the most important topics in our field are, and you'll have exposure to them and to experts in those fields as you engage with our coursework and our professors. So the maybe next slide, what I'll talk about is what really makes our program unique. A couple of key things. I mean, number one is that whether you are engaging in the classroom from a distance or whether you're here at our campus in Fort Collins, you should just recognize that our program is absolutely designed to serve your needs. All of our courses are offered at 5 to 8 p.m. on Monday through Thursday, the weekdays. And that's on purpose. It's to allow folks who are working professionals or have other obligations to be able to engage with our program in addition to, meeting your professional and sort of familial obligations that we all have these days, right? All of our courses are offered asynchronous online. Which means that you can catch up with the class on Saturday morning if you've got time. Then they're offered synchronously online through Zoom, so you can interact in exactly the same way as on-campus students do. You can ask questions directly of the professor. You can engage in group work with other students who are spread either across the country or again through our classrooms. And even I know many of our students are in Colorado or have the occasional ability to be able to travel to Fort Collins and do stuff. And we invite you, even if you're an online student, that you can engage in person in the classroom as well. So there's no need for any in-person activities, and that's on purpose. Our faculty is really a pretty extraordinary group of individuals. We have folks who are with backgrounds from Department of Defense, backgrounds from industry, backgrounds from, very rigorous academic institutions, et cetera, et cetera. And so we can really bring a wide array of systems engineering experience into the classroom. You should recognize that the students that you will be working with in our systems engineering program will have very extraordinary personal and professional backgrounds. Because our program is accessible at a distance, we have folks who are engaging with us from the Department of Energy National Lab Systems and from NASA centers and from the various industrial partners that we have that are literally spread around the United States. So you'll be working with, learning alongside really extraordinary students and thought leaders in systems engineering fields. We don't have any GRE scores that are required. And so that makes it, I hope, accessible again to professionals who might not, you might not be particularly desirous to go back and take that graduate requisite exam sort of stuff, and that's okay. The last bullet point that I'll really bring up here is our INCOSE academic equivalency. And this is something, so if you're new to the field of systems engineering, INCOSE, the International Council on Systems Engineering, is our sort of governing body for the profession of systems engineering. And if you come into our, one of the things that many students are desirous of emerging from a systems engineering education with is certification by INCOSE that allows you to be a certified systems engineering professional. And if you go through our program and take our Systems Engineering 501 course and pass with, greater than a B+ and all these kind of things, then you don't have to take the examination to become a certified systems engineering professional or an associate systems engineering professional. And so there's some, that's again, another sort of unique advantage where we have a special relationship with INCOSE, where we can offer that to our students. And whether or not you're engaging with us here at the master's degree level, you should also know that all of our professors, many of our activities are research engaged. We also train students in doctoral degrees, whether that's a professional doctorate like our Doctor of Engineering or a research intensive doctorate like our PhD. Just know that we have, that there's a whole academic career, of course, that could await you at Colorado State University. So an important point here is that we at Colorado State University sort of have two entities that you'll interact with. One is our academic department, and those are the folks that you're meeting around the room here. Again, we serve both students who are at a distance and students who are in our classroom equitably, and that's part of our normal job. You also, as online students, have access to additional resources through a part of the university that's called CSU Online. And you have access to their, that's where one would register for courses, and that's where we have some additional support for online students that comes through things like our online student success coach, whose name here is Lauren Kelly. So if you have any questions about kind of getting engaged with the university, how to gain admission or some sort of questions about what the online experience might look like, you can reach out and make contact with Lauren Kelly. Her calendar and email and contact info is available for you there. Next slide, perhaps. So with that, then I am going to maybe transition over and hand the baton to Ingrid, who will take us through the next sections here. So thanks a bunch.
Thanks, Tom. Yes, so I'm just going to run through our master's degree options here. We offer at CSU, we have a Master of Science and a Master of Engineering. One of the most common questions I'm asked from prospective students is, what is the difference between these two degrees? Because if you just look online, maybe at the curriculum, you might see a lot of potential overlap, but there are some functional differences that it's good to be aware of. The Master of Engineering is considered perhaps the more common degree in industry. A lot of companies and industry partners kind of see the Master of Engineering as a slightly more applied degree, whereas the Master of Science typically has some research component, kind of a little bit more academic generally, although that can depend on kind of which employer you're at. The Master of Engineering can be a coursework only degree. So this means that if you come in, are admitted, you can take 10 courses, no project, no thesis, no exams required. Just take the 10 courses and then you can graduate. And so this can kind of streamline your educational process if you're not really interested in doing, like a capstone project or any type of extra research. The Master of Engineering can be a very straightforward curriculum. The coursework is structured in the Master of Engineering to kind of give students more breadth and depth in the systems engineering field. So we have 4 courses required that are called our kind of core, and those give you skills, kind of foundational skills in the field that can help you solve a variety of different systems related problems. We then have a depth section to our curriculum, so you get to pick and choose which areas of systems engineering you want to specialize in. And then we have some electives in the Master of Engineering, and electives are very flexible in our department. You can take courses from other engineering departments. You can take courses from like math or stats or computer science or business. I mean, so there's a wide variety of elective options for you. The Master of Science, conversely, then is a little bit more common in academia. If you are ever considering, maybe you might want to go on for a PhD down the road, I would recommend the Master of Science. Because it requires a project or a thesis, it kind of gives you the opportunity to be a little more engaged in the academic research process. And a lot of PhD programs look for the Master of Science over the Master of Engineering when you're applying. So it can give you a little bit more of an advantage there. The coursework in the Master of Science is intended to be a little more flexible. So instead of having like required courses and then depth courses, we really just say, okay, half of your degree, so 5 courses are going to be depth. You can choose if those are foundational courses. You can choose if those are slightly more advanced in the systems field. It's up to you to kind of pick what you want and tailor your courses so that you can inform that eventual project or thesis. And I will talk a little bit more about like the difference between the project and the thesis here. The Master of Science also, so it has the depth courses, but it also has, electives, again, you can take from a variety of different departments. And then the project of the thesis is kind of the culminating part of that degree. For both the Master of Engineering and the Master of Science, the time to graduation is pretty similar. Full-time students, so that's 9 or more credits a semester, can take generally 2 years, sometimes a little under that if you take a lot of classes in a given semester. The part-time students, and most of our online students are part-time. These are students who are taking maybe 1 or 2 classes per semester, and that can take usually 3 to 5 years to complete the master's degree. The other, if you go to the next slide, a question that sometimes folks have is kind of, what is the technical name of the degree I'm earning? What is it going to look like on my transcript? So these are screenshots from students who've earned our degrees. If you get the Master of Engineering at CSU, you're going to have it technically a Major of Engineering with a specialization in Systems Engineering. The Master of Science, it's just going to show Major in Systems Engineering in our department. But either of these, you're working with the Systems Engineering department to earn your degree. So then the MS, I promised I would talk a little bit more about the thesis versus the project. So the MS Plan A is our thesis track. And this is the one, again, kind of most common for students who think they might want to go on for a PhD or really interested in kind of the academic research process at an institution. So this requires a 9 or more credit research project. So this usually means it's a multi-semester, maybe 2, maybe 3 semesters of work on your thesis project. 60 to 100 pages is not like a hard set requirement, just to give you an idea of the scope of what this end project might look like. Because the thesis is so involved and you're doing a pretty significant research project, we do require you to secure a faculty advisor before you are admitted to the program. And so we do have instructions in our application packets about kind of how do you approach an advisor, how do you think about planning for a thesis, but you do need to secure that advisor before you are admitted or before you be considered for the Plan A track. And then this also, the Plan A will require a thesis defense. You publish your thesis through the CSU library. So it's kind of a more traditional academic type project. Plan B, the project track has a 3-credit research project required. And this is usually a 1 semester effort with a faculty member. And so again, the 20 to 30 pages, that just gives you an idea of the scope of the end product. Although, this 3-credit project can be either academic in nature or it can really be applied. And so the end result's going to depend on kind of what project you end up doing and what type of paper. Maybe you might be going for publication or something, just kind of what you and your advisor work out to be a good end product for this. This project is viewed as kind of a capstone, and it gives you the opportunity to demonstrate, you've gone through the vast majority of your degree, you've taken a bunch of classes and gained a bunch of new skills. And then this allows you the opportunity to demonstrate that you can take those skills and apply it. This can help for finding a job, getting a promotion. A lot of our students online are working in industry, and they might actually use this opportunity to work on a project that's relevant to their workplace. So lots of options for that project. All right. So if you hopefully are kind of hearing about our options and you're thinking, well, that's going to be, that sounds like it's going to serve me well, then I'll talk about what the application process is going to look like for you, and then a few tips that I suggest just from my experience in the admissions realm. So our application process for master's students is that we have rolling admissions. What that means is that if you submit your entire application packet, and that means that all your official transcripts, all of your letters of recommendation, everything is submitted to us, we can usually get you a decision within about 1, maybe 2 weeks. So the earlier you're submitting your materials, the earlier you're going to know if you're admitted or not, and you can make your future plans. We do, though, have a final deadline for each admissions semester, and we have to have all materials received by that deadline, or we would have to bump you to maybe the next application period, and you might have to wait a semester to start. So you can work well ahead of the deadline. I would encourage you to not push up right against the deadline. So just be aware when that deadline is, make sure everything is submitted, maybe a few days in advance of that is safe. The next tip I have here is to make sure when you're looking through our application requirements, make sure you meet the minimum requirements shown, but also make sure your application materials demonstrate how you meet those minimum requirements. The big example here is the math prerequisites. So if you have taken Calculus 1 in a basic stats course, and that shows on your transcripts, great, you've met the prerequisites. But some students either have taken a course that, okay, well, it was calculus, but it doesn't say calculus in the name of the course, or maybe you haven't even taken calculus or statistics formally, like on a transcript. That's when you're going to want to, you can contact me, we can strategize about how to inform the admissions committee and your materials, how you meet those prerequisites. So we permit students to write up a statement, this is how, either this is a description of the course on my transcript that included calculus, or, this is how I've used calculus in my professional life. And, these are the skills I have here. So there's options to meet those requirements. But if you look over the minimum requirements and you have any questions about how your application might meet, how your materials might meet those requirements, please feel free to reach out and you can strategize with me to make sure your application is competitive. The next section here is just what are the elements that we require for any of the master's programs. So we do require a current resume or a CV. And as with anything you're submitting a resume for, please tailor this resume so that it clearly highlights what relevant, experiences, professional or academic experiences, maybe any special skills that are relevant to the program. You can highlight those in your resume. There's also a statement of purpose required, and we ask this to be a 2-page statement of purpose. And this is your chance to speak directly to the department about why you're excited about CSU, why you're excited about systems engineering program, why you think our department can really help you in your professional or your personal goals. All of those things are appropriate for the statement of purpose. We do require 3 letters of recommendation. And with this, faculty are definitely great letter writers, but also if you have professional experience, feel free to have supervisors or even colleagues write these letters. And really, it's anybody who can speak to your professional and relevant skills that would demonstrate that you're going to be successful in a graduate program in systems engineering. As Tom mentioned earlier, GRE scores are optional for all applicants. And you will not be at any disadvantage if you do not submit GRE scores. We don't compare scores or compare that between students or anything. The primary reasons I might see a student submit scores would be if maybe you've already taken a GRE for a different application at a different institution, and you said, well, these are great scores, I want to submit them. Great, you can submit them. They can kind of boost your application there. Or if you have another area of your application that maybe you feel is a little on the weaker side, for example, a lower GPA, then you can submit GRE scores to kind of help make up for that. So again, if you want to contact me and strategize about if a GRE score submission would be good for your application, I'm happy to talk with you about that. And then the last piece is the graduate school application fee. And in just a second, I will talk about our offered application fee waiver. But before I get there, I do just want to point out that the MS Plan A has, as I mentioned, the requirement to secure a faculty advisor before you could be considered for that program. If you submit an MS Plan A application and you do not have a faculty advisor secured, then we would just automatically consider you for the Plan B instead. And it's possible for you to maybe be accepted to the Plan B, come attend our program, and maybe in your first or second semester, you find an advisor among the faculty. Then you can swap to the Plan A at that time. So that's a strategy some students use. If you don't find an advisor before the program, you can definitely apply to the Plan B, and it's possible to change over later. All right, so the next step here, and perhaps what we've all been waiting to hear about, is how can you get your application fee paid for? And so we are offering this waiver to students who are applying to either online master's program and students who meet those stated minimum qualifications. So pretty easy process to get this application fee paid for. you just have to finish your application. So again, if you are submitting all of your official transcripts, you are getting all of your letters in, you have all your materials uploaded, and you hit submit on your application. Hitting submit will give you access to a checklist through the application portal. It shows you what our requirements are, and it shows you if you've met those already. So once all those requirements are met, and the only thing left to do is to pay the application fee, then you're going to email this email address here, and this CSU info email address is also on our website. And you're going to put SYSE payment in the subject line of the email. That ensures that we definitely catch all of these requests. And then include your full name and the semester you're applying for in your request. And we can usually get this application fee taken care of in 1 to 2 business days. So it's a pretty easy process once your application is fully complete, other than the payment. Okay, so I think that about covers that. I think we'll toss it back to Tom, but in the meantime, I think Catherine has another poll available so we can get an idea of kind of what areas of questions we might still be having.
Okay, well, while you fill that out, I'll just bring up the next couple of topics here. Next slide, if you don't mind, Catherine. I just, again, want to emphasize that, you know, our program is really, I think, designed to be able to serve the needs of students who are approaching their education in systems engineering from a distance. And, you know, I want to, so we encourage, and we have set up a variety of sort of resources for students to be able to engage with the community that exists in systems engineering here in our department, and with the broader community of learners and scholars at Colorado State University. It's easy to say that one of the really great advantages of being engaged with the university is being able to make those connections and being able to sort of, you know, feel a part of our scholarly community. So I can bring up that, you know, within the department, we have a variety of resources for students who are approaching the program from a distance. It's, you know, our DEI student subcommittee, our chapter of the International Council on Systems Engineering. We have a chapter of the American Society of Engineering Management that is specific to students and faculty interested in systems engineering management. We do a lot of work on, you know, sort of, again, trying to build community and communications, but we have very regular Friday talks where the faculty will often come and talk about topics of interest to them and to students. But also we have talks where the students will come and practice presentations and practice doing their elevator pitches for their research activities and all these kind of things. We have access to all of the software that you will need to be able to complete your degree, you know, MATLAB and simulation software and Cameo modeling software that we use for doing SysML and model-based systems engineering activity. Virtual reality and augmented reality software, you know, on and on and on and on, TensorFlow, machine learning software, et cetera. So the point is, all of those are available to you at a distance, no matter where you are in the world. On campus, you also should recognize that you are, as distance students, you're full members of the Colorado State University learning community. And so we have students who are distance ed students in our program who are engaged on the Graduate Student Council. They're making decisions and helping to guide the graduate students and the administration of the university. There's many, many opportunities for mentoring, for engagement with, you know, with sort of disciplinary groups, with engagement and contributions to, for example, our adult learner and veteran services program. As online students, as distance ed students, you'll have access to the entirety of the library system. So every book in the library, every journal that we subscribe to is available to you, again, no matter where you are in the world. We have a variety of support systems, including the help with writing and help with research ideation and all these kind of things are available to you as distance students in exactly the same way they're available to students who are on campus. So, you know, again, it sort of speaks to, and I can reinforce again with as much as is possible, We really are determined to make the experience of students who are engaging with our program from a distance equivalently effective as we make it for our students who are here in Fort Collins. Next slide, if you don't mind. The last thing I'll sort of talk about is for many of our students who are master's students, you have to think a little bit about what the funding sources are that you can use to be able to, take courses and pay tuition and do these kind of things. Many of our students, a majority of our students use employer tuition reimbursement programs. If you are at any of the major defense firms, for example, all of these have really great tuition reimbursement programs. And so you should reach out to your HR and manager to be able to understand what the potential is for tuition reimbursement that would come from your employer. Many of our students are student veterans. We have the highest fraction of student veterans of any program in the College of Engineering. And so you should also research. There's so many students use the GI Bill or similar types of military benefits to be able to engage with the university over the course of their learning career. So if students are veterans, again, we're glad to help you. And actually, the Colorado State University has a special office that can help you with taking advantage of military benefits. Every student has access to, every US student has access to federal financial aid by filling out the FAFSA form, which you may remember from a long time ago. That's how you can test your ability to be able to get federal financial aid. We at CSU also have scholarships that are available to students, both again on campus or off campus. The way to have access to those scholarships is to fill out this Colorado State University scholarship application. It's a common application that then feeds your information into the entire set of scholarships that are available for students, again, on campus and off campus. So it's sort of a one entry point into being able to understand whether or not you will be able to satisfy the requirements to get some of those scholarships that we have available at the university. And then the last, and I would say almost the most uncommon way that students engage with us is through self-funding. So last sort of charge here is we've had a couple of inputs in the polls that I'm hoping Catherine will be able to prime us with some questions. Perhaps you've been taking some notes and had some questions come up as we're doing our talk here, but this is the stage again at which I would absolutely welcome questions about our faculty and what motivates us or what some of the courses are, all this kind of stuff, or also things that we can direct towards Ingrid, how to gain admission, what some of the mechanics of the degree are, and all those kind of things. So I'll just open it up. First of all, thanking Catherine and thanking Ingrid for transmitting this information, thanking you for participation, and absolutely delighted to be able to talk to you, learn a little bit more about where you're coming from, and answer any questions that might come up.
Yeah, we have a couple questions in the chat already, Tom. First one asking about if this program meets the requirements for professional licensure.
So a professional licensure in systems engineering. I mean, the way that, so I mean, I don't know that there is a licensing agency or system for systems engineering. Our program, the way that we orient it is really towards this INCOSE certification activities. For some professional licensing requirements, there are sort of requirements for continuing education. I think about fields like professional engineering and civil engineering or something like that. And so we don't make any special orientation of our courses towards those. So that might be a topic of conversation that you should investigate with professional licensing boards of the license that you're thinking about. And maybe it's just I'm uncertain as to which programs or which licensures you're really thinking about. I mean, and I would encourage or welcome if folks are in the position to be able to do so, that you can also ask your question. Might also be outdated, or that we sort of covered that a bit too.
Okay, so we have one about the PhD DEng info session. So we did an info session for on-campus PhD students last fall. I don't know if we have one planned for online PhD or DEng, but if you have specific questions or anything like that, Ingrid and Tom are a wealth of knowledge with those things. So if you have specific questions, definitely shoot either of them an email. Or if you have questions now, we can answer them too. And then, will getting an advisor help me fund the Masters of Science or MS?
Yeah, so I mean, oftentimes, well, I'll say it, sort of explicitly. Usually, we don't have a way for distance students to be able to provide graduate research assistantships to distance students. That's one is sort of the laws of the state of Colorado or whatever don't let us do that. Now, for some students, if many students, for example, I think come to these sessions, but also are interested or considering at least on-campus master's programs within our department. And in those situations, we do have funding that can be provided to support tuition and to be able to support a stipend for graduate research assistants who would be on campus and working in our laboratories. Those fundings usually come from the government or from industrial research partners or all those kind of things like that. So if folks are interested in a funded Master of Science program, that would have to be an on-campus Master of Science program. And in those cases, getting connected with an advisor is absolutely required, intrinsic to being able to apply to the Master of Science and to request funding from graduate research assistantship or TA-ship.
Okay, and related to that, in the poll about the follow-up with the application questions, there was actually a pretty even split. So one of those questions was, tips for contacting professors about advising. So with MS Plan A, any tips that you may have about getting an advisor or reaching out to an advisor before you fill out that application?
Yeah, perhaps I'll handle that. It is hard. I mean, I recognize that it's no matter where you're applying, being able to make contact with professors is tricky. So what I recommend is go to our webpage and you'll see the set of systems engineering professors there. You'll see the dozen folks or so who are our core systems engineering faculty, and look at their areas of expertise and look and see where they're publishing papers recently or where they have some news articles that are about their work. And I would urge you to sort of, find a couple of those folks who are doing work in an area in which you are interested. And when you reach out to them, and I encourage an email or something, that you sort of are able to say, hey, Professor Bradley, I read that paper that you wrote last week that's on really exciting stuff. And I'm also interested in, I'm also interested in similar topics. And my background is such that I have some programming skills and I have some skills in doing this. I've been working in this domain for a little while, and I think I could really contribute to your effort. That's a great pitch. I'm always shocked and surprised when people have read my papers. I love it when people have similar interests to me and such. And so, yeah, that's the way that you can make an authentic connection with professors. So whether that's to, again, to apply to our Master of Science program here or just general advice, I'm hopeful that that's, a little bit of tips about what makes it so that professors can be excited about getting to know you a little bit.
Yeah, so we're getting some more questions. So one would be if you're transferring in a system engineering class credit, I think maybe you've already been in communication with Ingrid, I'm guessing from this comment. Are you still eligible to get your NCOSE certification? And then Jared, I'll share the screen again to show you the code.
Yeah, so unfortunately, if you're transferring in a course that applies in place of our Intro 501 class, then, and you are not going to take the 501 class, then you could not get the NCOSE certification equivalency. The reason for that is because it very much, the equivalency is based very much on exactly the curriculum in the 501 class specifically. And so we can't provide an equivalency unless you've actually taken the course and earned a grade in 501. If you're transferring in credit and you want it to apply somewhere else and you still want to take the 501 class, that's absolutely an option.
Okay, thank you for the compliment on the shirts. Let's see. I think Jared provided some more clarification, Tom, on the professional engineering licensure question.
Let me see if I can process that. So the people who complete either bachelor's or master's degree in engineering can be licensed as PEs. Professional licensure is required to engage. Professional licensure is required only. So I'll say out loud, it is not required in order to engage in engineering practice, in professional practice. You know, again, if there are particular jobs, of course, in civil engineering in particular, in mechanical engineering in particular, that do require professional licensure, but as far as I know, I don't know if there is a PE in systems that is systems engineering oriented. And I would say that's quite uncommon for us to have students who graduate from our programs and take the professional engineering examination as a result of what they've learned in our classes. One of the other topics, Catherine, that kind of came up that I can perhaps speak to again is, you know, I just want to address or maybe it's have a discussion about that. The folks should understand, you know, we at CSU have and the way that our courses work is that we have specialized classrooms that are sort of like specially equipped with technology that allows for example, microphones that are area microphones in these classrooms, so that it picks up the voice of the instructor, and we have cameras that pick up the entirety of the classroom and the front of the classroom. And so you as an online student or as a distance student are engaged with the discussions that are going on in the classroom. You know, I'm teaching a class on Tuesday afternoons, and we have regular conversations that are going on between the students who are in the classroom and the students who are off campus. And that conversation is happening organically and, you know, just as we're having a conversation in Zoom or something. It's the exact same software. You have access to all of the same materials. It's all available synchronously to you. Whether again you're on campus or off, you do the same homework assignments, you have the same deadlines. It's the experience is really designed to be exactly a graduate school experience. So we sort of make no apologies that we're asking for hard thinking from our students, whether they're engaged at a distance or whether they're engaged on campus. We're asking for you know, from the research objectives. They're exactly the same. And what comes out the other side, your transcript and your diploma has no indication of whether or not you engaged with systems engineering from a distance or from on campus. So it's really an identical experience, and one that we have developed over a number of years to really, I think, again, be responsive to the needs of our students. We have pretty, I think, again, you know, perhaps modestly, we sort of have very extraordinary professors that are working in our field. Again, I would sort of urge you to peruse the website a little bit. We have many people who win awards for their instruction. We have folks who are certified expert systems engineering professionals. All of the professors who will teach our courses, have industrial experience or extraordinary academic experience. So, I sort of really do believe that we're bringing this very, I don't know what the right word is, but sort of scholarly model of graduate school engagement. And we're bringing that to you, whether or not you're here on campus or whether or not you're engaging from, through the Zoom or again, even from an asynchronous point of view. So it's really, my statement is that you're getting the same experience, the same outstanding experience that the folks who are engaging with with us here in the classroom are getting as well.
Cool. And I think one of the other ones from that online learning poll, because Tom was addressing the top 3 concerns, one of the other ones was just asking a little bit about the time requirements. So maybe Ingrid could talk about that a little bit from what you've seen with, a lot of our students are working professionals and how they balance that and, balance their classes, things like that.
Yeah, so certainly we have a lot of students who with the same concern, and we have a lot of students who end up, maybe they can just take 1 class a semester. And so for each 3-credit class, the guideline is kind of, on average, you might be putting in between 9 to 15 hours per week. So usually it's a little lighter at the beginning of the semester. And then as you get toward either midterms or toward your final project or, kind of your final exam, it might get a little more intense at the end of the semester. But a lot of students find that they're able to kind of fit that in. You definitely, if you take 1 class a semester, that's fine. You can choose each semester, like say, oh, this next few months, I'm going to have a lot more time. You can add on a 2nd class. If you find you need to take a break a semester, I just don't have time to do classes right now, you can add continuous registration. It's just like a little hold on your student account. It keeps your student account active. You keep your email, your library access, whatever, but you just aren't taking classes that semester, and you can take CR whenever you need to. So there's a lot of options so that you can kind of fit what, fit around your schedule, kind of what our classes are. We also kind of the way our semesters work is we have the fall and the spring semester. Those are both 16-week semesters. And then we also have a summer option, and that's a 12-week semester. So it's a little bit more condensed, but we do offer a selection of summer courses each summer so that you can, if you would like to take summer classes, you can kind of accelerate your degree progress, or if you would need a break over summer, then you can just take a break, no problem. So it's pretty flexible to kind of make sure you can fit our program into whatever you need.
Definitely. And then it looks like we're getting some more question or more clarification on the licensure for Tom. And then, yeah.
I'll say out loud, we have not considered licensure in designing our program, and I followed the link there. I mean, the reason is that it's important to say, ours is a systems engineering program, and we sort of have that as our emphasis in the way that we design the curriculum. And that's really, it is more oriented towards this INCOSE vision of what systems engineering is. We don't have as much content in activities like industrial and manufacturing engineering. And so that's those will be topics that we don't particularly have in our curriculum. For example, a manufacturing course or something like that is not in our systems engineering curriculum. So you might have some deficits if you are really desirous of going through that licensure activity and in that industrial and systems engineering framework. So that's up for you, or that's perhaps again for each student to consider how to weigh that or whatever. But at least that's the when I look at what the topics are and where our curriculum kind of overlaps, that's where you'll find that we have a little bit of a different orientation, which is towards this in-cozy vision of what systems engineering should be.
And then follow up with the advisor. So I guess if you don't secure an advisor, do you not get funding for the first semester? I'm assuming, again, this is for speaking about on-campus programs, perhaps?
For on-campus students, if the way that you can get your master's program paid for is that we do have a couple of mechanisms to be able to do that. I mean, one is graduate research assistants, one is teaching assistants, one is that we have scholarships that are available through the department and through the college and through the university. For the purposes of this discussion, in order to gain admission in the Master of Science program, you will have to have an advisor. In order for you to get your schooling funded by a graduate research assistantship or a teaching assistantship, you'll have to have an advisor. So just, I think I would treat it as a prerequisite to being able to get your tuition and stipend and fees paid for by the program.
And then the next question I'll point it at Ingrid. Is this program conducive to those with not engineering degrees, but system engineering equivalent experience?
Yeah, that's definitely something that we see a lot of prospective students that don't have an engineering specific background educationally, but do have technical experience. And definitely if you're working in a field that's systems engineering specific and you have a lot of professional experience in systems engineering, not even like maybe a different technical realm, then yes. So what we're really looking for is to kind of get an understanding of the student's background, to know that you have exposure to technical areas, you have the right math background. Again, that's calculus 1 and basic statistics, and that you kind of have context to be applying what you're learning in our program. And so if you have technical experience from education or your professional life, yes, both of those are definitely considered. And if you have systems engineering technical experience or professional experience, then that, I often see those students do very well in our program.
And I'll just add that we very regularly see folks, we were talking about engineering degrees. We very regularly see folks with chemistry backgrounds or physics backgrounds or statistics or mathematics or computer science or all sorts of things. So, I think that's why I sort of highlight again, many people are successful with a variety of sort of STEM backgrounds in our program.
And then another Ingrid question. So is there a time limit for completing degrees? And then followed up with, if you're using employer funding, but it gets paused, kind of what happens there because of economic reasons?
Yep. So the time limit is 10 years, and that's for a master's program. We rarely have a student even approach that. So the good news is, like, for all intents and purposes, there's not really a time limit for your master's degree. If you need to pause taking classes because of funding reasons, and of course this has happened actually in the past couple of years, then you can, like I said, go on continuous registration, CR, just to kind of keep your active student status until maybe your employer can reimburse you again, or you find another source of funding. So you can put your program on pause if needed. We're not going to require you to always be in classes.
I think we might have answered all the questions. These are some good questions. Thank you, everyone. If there's nothing else, no additional questions, then I say we wrap up.
That sounds great. Well, maybe just as closing remarks here or something, I'll just say thank you again to Catherine and to Ingrid for doing the presenting here and organization. Thank you to you all for attending and for your discussion and input and Q&A activity here. It's nice to be able to learn a little bit more about where you all are coming from and what the concerns are and ways that we can understand the sort of voice of the student here. And then what I'll say is as follow-up, if you have more questions or if you have things that kind of come up or things that you might like to address, then all of us, in fact, I mean, Ingrid and I have given you our contact info in this slide deck, which will be posted on the website and such. And so you will, I would encourage you, reach out and ask any questions that you might have. I'm glad to engage in conversation with students and help you to understand the pathways into and through our program here. So again, thank you so much for time and input, and I hope you all have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We did get one last question, Tom, if you want to try and answer it.
I can, sure.